Hi everyone, welcome back to Devon's Dog Days. We are going to be working on the next segment of our Lakeland Terrier series with Missy here. We're going to be working on her front and her shoulders. And we're going to go over everything, including tools, products, which we are going to list down below. And thanks to our sponsors at OurTerrierUSA.com, I've got a special discount code listed right down there for you. So when you go for your shopping spree, you can save a little bit of money too. While you're going over that shopping list, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see the next video on our Lakeland Terrier series, as well as so many more that we're going to be working on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The tools that I am going to be using, I'm going to be using my Artero bamboo stripping knives. So this is number 2 and number 3. Those are the numbers that I like to use the most. They're a bit more on the fine side, but still able to get a good amount of bulk out and really get them nice and tight and where I want them to be. For a lot of these areas where you kind of run into dips and cowlicks, I always like to use stones. Feel like you get a better finish, you can get into those little nooks and crannies a bit better, and you're less likely to pull the hair in a direction that could possibly break it. So I always like to have a couple stones handy, always my little nail pumice stone, which you can find on devonsdogdays.com. I also have 2 stripping stones made by Skipper Strippers. He is an Airedale breeder out of Ohio, and these are wonderful. I have had this guy for a very long time, a couple of years at least now, and I absolutely love it, and it works great and never loses its grit. You can see it's still looking great, and I think this has to be at least 3 years old. And then I also have his new one that he has coming out, which I was lucky enough to get to test. Thank you so much, Skip. And this one is wonderful. I have had a really hard time sometimes with finding ones that really fit the curvature of my thumb, and this one works really great, fits very comfortably. I love the handle, it fits perfectly right into my fingers. So this is a wonderful tool to have to use for getting really tight areas and also getting a lot of bulk out. With stones, you can really use them as you please. You're just pulling what you put your hands on. So let's get going. So to get started, I'm going to start with my number 3. It is the wider of the 2 stripping knives that I'm going to be using. And I am just going to start right on the front of her chest here. Sometimes it helps to have a pin brush just to be able to see the hair a little bit more clearly, see your levels, and see what's really too long to be there. Honestly, at this point, Missy's pretty long, so we're going to be pulling a lot of this down. But having a pin brush to just lightly lift the hair, not necessarily back brushing and ripping all of that hair up, can really help. So from the flat work, I'm just starting and just pulling straight down. Airedales are supposed to have more of a straight front. If you were to draw a line from the bulb of the ear right down, it should go straight down to the toe. So we are literally going to take this really nice and tight over the front, build these legs out, and go right down into that foot. And that's how you get a really nice column leg. And so as I'm working on pulling her front, I can also work on starting to wrap around her shoulder. And also staying mindful of her layback of shoulder. You want to really expose that. You want to show how they have a really nice layback of shoulder. It's very important in the breed. When it comes to conformation, you always want to keep in mind the angulation of the breeds and what you're going for. Grooming can really help enhance that, or if it's not done correctly, it can really throw it off. And structure is incredibly important. It has everything to do with movement. It has everything to do with the soundness of the dog, that they'll be able to actually complete the jobs that they were bred to do. These guys were bred to be able to go over very rocky terrain and go under tunnels in mountainous terrain and hunt foxes and things like that. And so to be able to do that, they need to have a really good range of motion. You can see as I'm pulling her, we have this really nice, perfect angulation going on here, 45-degree angle, and that's what I'm really going for, and that's what you want to aim for. And you can actually adjust this. So say you're working in a grooming salon or something like that, and you really want to try and help this dog look a little bit better because they're not really built that well, or structurally they're not exactly perfect. You can use grooming to really help enhance that and correct it. Corrective grooming is such an essential tool for groomers working in salons, and can really make the difference between just another pet grooming shop or someone who really shows true talent and can make a dog look their best under any circumstances. So now as I'm working on my front, I'm also working on the area from the transition of the flat work into the neck. A lot of this, I just start by pulling from the very tips as it's sticking out from the cowlick, from the bulb of the ear down to the chest. And just by plucking and pulling that in tighter and tighter as you go, you're going to start to see that blend coming along. And it can take some time to grow the hair. You can also, a lot of times, I'll let Missy drop her head so I can pull it with the direction of the coat. This just is going to make it lie really nice and tight and flat in those transition areas, so you don't have kind of like crazy hair sticking up. So you always want to try your best to pull the hair with the direction of the coat that it naturally grows in, or that you want it to grow in. And right here, this bib area, I usually like to leave this until I bathe, and then I will pull this really nice and tight, because again, we want this to drop straight down. So all of this is way too much hair. They're not supposed to have a pronounced chest. They're supposed to be nice and tight in the front with a good range of mobility. And again, you can even just finger pluck this area. Even now, I'll just at least pull off some of the bulk. And already you can start to really see how much that helps her shoulders really pop out, and you can really see that definition between the different sides. And again, wrapping around the shoulder. And just pulling with the hair. If you notice, her coat grows really nice and wraps tightly around. And then around this back area here is where I usually like to go in with my stone. So that way I can be sure that I'm not breaking any hair and I'm keeping it as tight to her body as I can. Another good tip is to extend the arm and pull that hair with the grain, and that can help you get it even tighter. And from there, really, it's just going over and over those areas, pulling a certain amount and seeing where you can get it to be tight enough to the body that it looks like a well-knit sweater. My rule of thumb is on the shoulder area. I usually try to pull this down to be about 1/4 of an inch of length. I always think of the flat work area of being either 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch. And then on the body, usually about 1/2 an inch, and the legs is where you get up to like 1 inch, because we want the furnishings, as the standard says, to be plentiful but not profuse. So we don't want them flopping around everywhere, but we want them to help build those column legs and just add a little bit more substance and strength to our breed for the jobs that they're meant to be doing. Good girl. And if you work with your dog regularly too, you can also a lot of times, for their comfort, train them to lay down, as I mentioned in other videos. This way they can really just relax while you work on them. They don't have to be stressed, and they can be comfortable and off of their feet. I think I can switch up to my number 2 now. Good girl. Just always be aware to let them stand up every so often so you can get a good look at how you're pulling and how that's coming along. Because you never want to pull too much and then possibly they stand up and you realize, oh crap, that was totally in the wrong direction and I didn't mean to do that. Good girl. Yeah, can I stand up? And see, already you can see that this is starting to lay really nice and tight to the body. And you just keep going. A lot of times it's the top layer. Sometimes you pull out some of the layers underneath. And if you keep on top of this, you know, if you're trying to really build a well-layered jacket, you could work on this weekly, and you could pull one for every 3 hairs, one for every 4 hairs, and keep that in mind. And that's how you're going to get that really nice woven jacket. Because as we're working on them and we're removing these extra coats, you pack the coat back in as well with a brush, bristle brush, something of the like. And what it does is those hairs then weave in together and create that suit of armor that they are known to have to protect them from the elements and the animals that they hunt and whatnot. So we're gonna go ahead and keep working on this, and you guys can watch along. Everybody make sure to say hello to Missy. She says hi. All right, come on, let's finish you. I know it's a hard life, huh? It's a hard knock life for Miss. Come on, you know I gotta work. Much better. Look at that difference. So that is what we're going for. And every time you work on it, it can get better and better. And even if you end up with a blown coat that has not been worked in a while, you can bring it back. It takes time, but not as much as you think. So always give it a go. Again, hit the subscribe button, and we're going to have a shopping list below for artero.com with a discount code. And thank you so much to Artero USA for being an amazing sponsor. Have a good one, guys.